So, Manchester United have been breaking revenue records this year, despite not qualifying for the Champions League, despite having the worst season ever. Manchester United are making record breaking revenue. The Manchester United that said they had to sack everyone just to keep the club afloat. The Manchester United that claimed they had to do this, this, and this because they were going to run out of money definitely have quite a bit of money and have quite a bit of money to spend. We've been lied to, and I believed it. Most of you believed it. Ineos, Jim Ratcliffe, they played everybody. The money is out. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about all the insight on United, how much they can spend, how much money we have, and more. We've got updates on Lisandro Martinez, the latest of his injury, his return date. We've got updates on Diego Leon. We haven't seen him play with the first team yet. Is Ruben Amorim got plans to use Diego Leon at left wing back and more? So, hello, and welcome back to Alice Talks Football, and welcome back to your 10-minute Manchester United news, transfer news, and update roundup show. Where in today's video, we're going to round up all the latest Manchester United news into a 10-minute video for you guys so you're up to date on everything. Feel free to hit that like button, of course, subscribe down below if you're new, and let's get into it. So, this came via Ben Jacobs, but it was also put out publicly that Manchester United have reported a record revenue of £666.5 million for the fiscal year of 2025, despite no Champions League football. I think if we got Champions League football, that would mean the revenue would be about 80 to 90 million more. So we'd be looking in the 700 range, which is ridiculous. To think that we came 15th, we were as rubbish as we were, and we've made that much money is crazy. That's going to be like 3 times what Newcastle make in the Champions League, which is why we can spend money and why some people don't like the PSR rules. I don't know what Newcastle made, but I don't know the exact figure what Newcastle made, but for example, that's a crazy amount of money. I can't find the exact figures, but in 2023, Newcastle made 250 million, and that's when they first qualified for the Champions League. So that's crazy how much we made not being in the Champions League. Continuing on, Ben Jacobs also mentioned that record matchday revenues were up 17% with the highest ever level of ticket sales and memberships, which is crazy because we've been atrocious to watch. But again, a lot of this does come to Jim Ratcliffe putting the price up to an unreasonable amount, which I don't agree with. I think if we were playing as good as prime Manchester City or prime Barcelona, he could justify putting the ticket prices up. But when we've been playing like we have, I mean, the ticket prices are a joke. Record commercial revenues up 10%, reflecting the first full year of the front shirt partnership with Snapdragon, which is also on my shirt. Look at that free advertising for Snapdragon there. Look at that. So yeah, again, record commercial revenues up 10% because of the Snapdragon partnership. So United have made money. Obviously, I think our match day revenue's gone down because we were in less matches. We weren't in the Champions League. All of that, of course. Revenue in certain sectors has gone down, but revenue has increased in certain areas. And Kieran Maguire was on the United Stand today on their YouTube channel, so make sure you go check out the full video. And he actually said some interesting things. Excluding transfers out, United generate more revenue than any other football club. Ridiculous. Giving them greater capacity to reinvest. If they qualify for European football, they could potentially repeat their spending of 275 million in intangible assets such as transfers. We could basically go out and spend another 250 plus million. But Ruben Amorim isn't going to get us European football unless he changes something. Let's be totally honest. We first got to have that conversation. European football is something that I thought was realistic at the start of the season, and I'm thinking like Conference League, Europa League, not Champions League. Champions League's never been realistic for me. It doesn't feel realistic. But we can spend a lot of money. Excluding the transfers out, we can spend a lot of money. We've obviously got money for the players that go. We're going to get money for Højlund if he continues to do well, and he did score in his first game, so go Højlund. That's mad, guys. Obviously, Sancho will be gone for good. Casemiro will be gone for good. Maguire will be gone for good. Like, the wage is saved in itself there. Like, we can spend a crazy amount of money maybe next summer. The problem is we've got to make sure we're spending money on the right things. We can't be spending 15 million to sack a manager and bring another manager in, and then another 15 million to sack a manager and bring another manager in. We need to have a plan. We need to have a long-term plan in place. And we need to spend money on the right areas, but it just makes me laugh. And one of the other things that Kieran Maguire said on the United Stand was that Sir Jim saying Man United could have been out of cash at the end of the year was more of a PR exercise, he said. He said that United was stunned by the criticism by their fans of their cost-cutting measures, so they wanted Line to justify it. Running out of cash was never realistically going to be the case. We all fell for it. Jim Ratcliffe just lied to us and we all fell for it. And you know what? I don't really care that much, to be honest. I don't agree with the way they went about the cost cutting because I think there's ways to be efficient and cut costs. And I think there's ways where you're just being a knob. And I think things like cancelling the staff Christmas party or getting rid of the staff Christmas bonus is just being a knob. I think there's things you've got to do to be efficient. You've got to let people go. You've got to make unpopular decisions. But I also think there's a way you can go about things. And I don't think Ineos went about things in the right way. I don't agree with the way Ineos went about things. And Sir Jim Ratcliffe basically did that interview saying we're going to run out of money, we're broke. And we all believed it. I honestly thought Man United were broke. After we signed Cunha, I said, oh, we're going to need to sell people before we can afford people. And then we went and signed Mbeumo and Sesko without even selling anyone. We were told that United could afford Cunha and Dilap and that'll be it. And then they'd have to sell and they had no money left. And it turns out we could afford Cunha, Sesko and Mbeumo without having to sell. And look, I believe this, and I never believed the PR, by the way. Every summer, Man United say they're broke, and I always say in my live streams every season for the last 5 years I've been doing YouTube, I always say every year Man United put out they're broke or they can only spend this amount, and then they go and spend this amount, and they say that every year as a negotiation tactic because if they tell teams they've had a lot of money, they have a lot of money, the teams will put their price up. United's negotiation every summer is to pretend they're broke, and then they go spend a lot of money. But I genuinely believe that this summer we were broke because we didn't get European football, because it's the first time ever we've gone more than 2 years without being in the Champions League, so we lost that money from Adidas, because Jim Ratcliffe came out and did this interview that the club's running out of money and these cost-cutting measures were needed to be done. Now look, I don't like the way they've gone about some of these cost-cutting measures, and some of them were needed to be done. Some of them I think was them going OTT. They had to make unpopular decisions. I think the way that they went about it was tasteless. But again, lying, saying we're going to run out of money to try and justify the way that they went about things isn't great. It's a red flag, don't get me wrong. But it is good to know that we do actually have quite a bit of money. And obviously Jim Ratcliffe was pretending we're broke as maybe a negotiation tactic. And it's good to know that we do have money. Continuing on. Manchester United's wage bill has dropped below Arsenal's for the first time in the Premier League era. Another reason we've got more money, and obviously with the new PSR rules, our wage bill is going to be more important, is because our wage bill is massively dropped. Rashford is gone. Anthony is gone. Sancho, we're only paying 20% of his. That's 3 of our biggest earners. Casemiro is going to go at the end of the season. Eriksen is gone, one of our biggest earners. When Casemiro and Maguire go, other than Bruno, we're not going to have many big earners. I think it will be De Ligt on 180, 190k a week. I think when you look at the Man United squad, there's not that many people on over 200k a week. Mason Mount will probably go. I think if Mason Mount doesn't stay fit this season, I think he'll go or be put up for sale, because Mason Mount's the last sort of big earner that I can actually think of right now at Manchester United that isn't maybe that important. But other than that, if you get rid of if Rashford goes, Maguire goes, Casemiro goes, the big owners you're looking at Bruno, who could also go, and then after that, I think it is De Ligt and it is Mason Mount, and De Ligt has shown the season importance. I think De Ligt's having a good season and going massively under the radar this season. I don't know if you guys agree, but does anyone else think that De Ligt's gone quite under the radar so far this season and been quite good? But the wage bill is down as well. So let's talk about defenders, because I had a couple of people ask me in my live stream the other day, oh, what's the situation with Diego Leon? Is he going to play? And I think the situation was Diego Leon was expected to train, could get the odd minutes. I think had we stayed in the Carabao Cup and ended up having a game against the Millwall, I think he would play. I think if we're in the Europa League, I think if we're in the Carabao Cup, we would see more of the youth and more of the players like Diego Leon this season. Because we're literally just in the Premier League, I don't think there's going to be a lot of rotation. I don't think we're going to see a lot of players that we would normally see. Which is one of the biggest downsides about having one game a week and going at the Carabao Cup early. But Simon Stone actually spoke about Diego Leon today and said that Diego Leon was expected to join Bin on the squad at some point as he adapts to the Premier League game, which is the under-21s, but Amorim is still keen to keep him in first-team training. He's not played for the under-21s yet because he's involved in first-team training and Amorim wants to keep him there. Apparently having him in first-team training is seen as beneficial, but there is a feeling he will drop down and soon play with the under-21s. So that was the update on Diego Leon, who might get minutes the back end of the season, but I think because unless Dorgu gets an injury and Delo gets an injury, I don't see it happening yet. And talking of injuries, it was said that Lisandro Martinez is training on grass ahead of his return to action in the coming weeks as well. So it'd be good to have Licha back. I want to see if Ruben Amorim's going to insist on playing the same formation, the same system. I want to see Yoro left centre-back, Majari right centre-back, De Ligt central centre-back, because I think that's our best back three. But, you know, we've got the likes of Aiden Heaven, we've got the likes of Lisandro Martinez to come in at the back, which will be good to see. Anyway, people, thank you so much for watching today's video. It was your 10-minute roundup. I do apologise with no live today, but I just feel like now we've only got one game a week and there's not transfer news. It's difficult to do lives every day because sometimes it's just some of the same things that we're talking about. Whereas if I love doing lives the day after a match because then we can talk about the match, we can have discussions. But I'm going to try and do 5 lives a week instead of 7 lives a week, and then do videos, just getting to the point on the news, if that works for you guys. Anyway, thank you for watching. Bye.